After flying around the far side of the moon, Orion begins its journey home. It doesn't need a big push to come back. Earth's gravity slowly pulls it in, guiding it along a natural path back home. Now, as Orion gets close to Earth, the mission enters its most critical phase. First, the crew module carrying the 4 astronauts separates from the service module, which has done its job. Then, small thrusters fire to turn Orion into just the right position. The angle has to be perfect before hitting the atmosphere to ensure safety of everyone on board. Next comes re-entry, the most violent segment of their journey. During this time, the astronauts will experience a force of 4G, feeling 4 times their normal body weight. At peak heating, the capsule's heat shield must endure temperatures of 2,700 degrees Celsius, nearly half the temperature of the surface of the sun. There will be total communications blackout between the crew and mission control for several minutes. When they emerge from that silence, it's time for parachutes. A sequence of chutes opens, slowing the capsule down to about 30 kilometers per hour. Now it's ready to land. Orion splashes down off the California coast near San Diego. Recovery teams and divers move in to help the astronauts out of the capsule. They are then lifted into helicopters and flown back to a recovery ship. Orion is brought on board too. After 10 days in space, the crew finally steps back onto solid ground. Mission complete.
We're joined now by Patricia Reiff. She's Professor of Physics and Astronomy and also Associate Director of Outreach Programs at the Rice Space Institute. Professor, great to have you on the show this morning. It's an exciting time, but also potentially a risky and dangerous time. Can you, explain why re-entry is so dangerous? I'm told even more risky than liftoff.
Well, it's during re-entry that the capsule reaches its highest temperatures, because that heat shield is what is being used to slow it down as it goes through the atmosphere. If it goes too steep, it burns up too fast. If it goes too shallow, it might bounce off the atmosphere. And so you have to target it just right so the heat shield will do its job and protect the astronauts on their way down back to Earth.
And Professor, there's been a lot of scrutiny around that very heat shield, which showed more damage than expected after the Artemis I return from the moon. Just how confident are you of the improvements made for Artemis II?
Well, they actually didn't change the heat shield itself. They are instead changing the angle of approach. The original Artemis I actually did deliberately a skip off of the atmosphere, and that kept them hot for a longer time and caused some bubbles, some gas in the interior of the special heat shield material. So this time they're going to come in a little bit steeper, so they'll be in this ablation time for a shorter period of time and hopefully won't cause that bubbling.
Okay, we certainly hope so. And Professor, we've seen and learned a lot over the past 9 days, and we'll learn more, I'm sure, once the Orion returns with more data. But which discovery or discoveries have you found the most exciting so far?
Well, just the fact that we humans have now gone farther in space than they've ever gone before is big, and a much more diverse crew. And they got to see the far side of the moon when it was dark. They got to experience some of the darkest skies ever in the universe. They saw all the stars in the Milky Way, and then they saw a solar eclipse as that sun came back from outside the moon again. I'm an eclipse junkie, and I've seen 18 totals, but that has got to take the cake.
Professor, I counted about 6, and I'm sure there will be more once Orion comes back. But I want to ask you now about Moonjoy. Now, this mission has captivated the world, because it's been live streamed. We've seen stunning images. We've heard very vivid descriptions from the Artemis crew about what they see, what they've seen. There's even been a press conference. This is PR, but I want to know how important has this communication been, in terms of changing attitudes, recapturing the excitement, and whether this is the model built on emotion as well as science that will carry forward space exploration in the future.
Well, absolutely. Human exploration is very dangerous and very expensive. And so NASA, for the last 50 years, has put more of its resources into low Earth orbit and into unmanned robotic missions. We've now gone to all the planets, including Pluto, and we're going back to Europa. And doing robotic missions, you get a lot more science for the dollar. And so some people have kind of said, oh, NASA's not doing much, but it really is. But this is such a dramatic, such a personal thing that humans can really be out there in space and really be out of touch of Earth for 40 minutes on the backside of the moon. That is so captivating. And I think it will herald a new era of space exploration.
And Professor, the astronauts that have stress test everything from navigation and also life support. I want to talk about that because from the outside, the astronauts look healthy and well so far. But what are the less visible or longer term effects the scientists will be watching for after a mission like this?
Well, because they're outside the Earth's magnetic field, they will have been exposed to more of the cosmic rays from the galaxy, with the galactic cosmic rays, which are impossible to shield. Fortunately, we did not have a major solar storm during this mission, and so they weren't exposed to the solar radiation, which is less energetic but much more episodic. They have a new hidey hole, and they did a test on how that works. So in case there was a solar storm, they could go into this sheltered place and cover themselves up and try to reduce the amount of radiation from a solar outburst. Fortunately, that was not necessary.
Okay, and Professor, given the current progress, how realistic are the timelines for upcoming lunar landing missions, and what needs to happen to sustain this momentum beyond a single successful mission?
Well, they decided to go one step slower and spend one more uncrewed mission to do a lunar rendezvous to test all of the pieces of what a landing would require, which is coming back up from the lunar surface and reattaching with the command module, much as the Apollo missions all did. So Artemis III will be uncrewed, but then everything will be tested and ready for Apollo 4, and that's the one that's going to have humans standing on the moon again, which I saw as a college student, and I worked with Apollo data for my graduate work, and it's just so exciting that we're going to get real live data from the moon again.
Fantastic to hear all that, Professor. But I do want to ask you as well, as you look, back on the past 9 days also, I mean, there have been a lot of success stories, a lot of excitement. Is there one thing that makes you go, oh, we need to go back to the drawing board on that one?
I haven't heard of one yet, but
that's fantastic.
Maybe we will find out more when they get back.
All right,
so
Professor.
far, it's been picture perfect. They had a little toilet problem at the beginning, but they fixed that.
Fantastic. Professor, thank you so much for talking to us and updating us. Patricia Reiff is Professor of Physics and Astronomy and also Associate Director of Outreach Programs at the Rice Space Institute. The Artemis II, of course, in the home stretch with the Orion spacecraft set to re-enter at 7:50 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. That's 7:50 here in Singapore Saturday morning.
Yeah, the splashdown in the Pacific Ocean will be at roughly 8:07 a.m. Singapore time, assuming everything goes to plan. So keep with us here on CNA for coverage on this lunar mission. You may also catch the latest updates on our website, cna.asia, and our mobile app.